as the round thing on the screen there says, this is Virtua Fighter 10th anniversary. It is on the Virtua Fighter 4 Evolution disc, the US version. You go in that game to options and then special, and you'll see that'll ask if you want to load Virtua Fighter 10th Anniversary, which is its own standalone game. It has all the characters and most of the moves of Virtua Fighter 4 10th or Virtua Fighter 4 Evolution, but it is done in the sort of graphical style and rules of Virtua Fighter 1. So it's kind of weird. We are here specifically to play Lau, who I just played some of in Virtua Fighter 4, the non-evolution version. So we're continuing our little Lau run, and I'm going to try Lau on hard difficulty, which I have not done before. Last time I played him, it was on normal. I have beaten Arcade in 10th Anniversary on hard and very hard with Go Hinagami, so we'll see how I make out with Lau. I haven't gone through his command training or anything like that, so I'm still just sort of winging it with Lau, so yeah, we'll see how far that gets me. Now you can pick from one of two routes of enemies. You can play against only characters who were in Virtua Fighter 1, or you can play against characters from succeeding games in the series, so from 1 all the way up through Evolution. And then of course you get a bonus round at the end against Dural. Do I want Classic or the new stuff? Let's start Classic, why not? I don't know, I'll probably regret that. Of course, Lau himself was there from the very first Virtua Fighter, so I guess we should go Classic, right? And I think I set my controls up correctly. This little game in a game does not save its own options or anything. It doesn't have any save file support, so you have to redo your controls and stuff every time. But that's pretty quick to do anyway, so here we go. No, I'm still in options, so yeah, I know what I'm doing. I'm a professional. That's the one. As you can see, there's really only arcade and versus mode. It's a pretty streamlined little free game. It was a standalone game, had its own disc and limited release in Japan. And in Europe, it was some kind of special pre-order there were very few given out in Europe. So in the States, we got pretty lucky, and it just came on the Virtua Fighter 4 Evolution disc, so it didn't cost anything, really. It was just in there, and Virtua Fighter 4 Evolution itself was a budget release in the States. I think it was $20 or something on PS2. So it was a pretty good deal, especially if you enjoy this quirky little mashup game they did. Here is Lau Chan. It's his classic costume. If we hold start, we can get his alternate costume, which is kind of a gross color. I'm not really digging. I mean, I kind of like the design of it, but no, I haven't been too tempted to use it. No, maybe I should try it. Maybe that's just the jolt I need. Hobby, poetry, job, cook. He's a pretty artsy guy, really. I mean, he comes off as terrifying. I was always terrified of him because he's always screaming this blood-curdling yell as he's, like, uppercutting and juggling you. But maybe if you're nice to him, he'll then go cook you a pretty tasty lunch or something. What's Lau got cooking? Well, so you can see the gigantic low-gravity Virtua Fighter 1 style jumps, which do not usually do what you want them to do.
Fight 2! Ready? Go!
So that's it. Huh. So where's his blood curdling yell? There it is. He also has a throw that does that. That one. Which one is it? It wasn't quite as blood curdling as I was going for. Now you'll notice that this, or you may not have noticed, this video does not have a 60 frame per second option. I record this game only at 30 frames a second because it's got this terrible flickering effect on the health bar. When somebody gets hit, you'll see a white trail where the red health or the green health is deleted. There's a white trail there on your video, but at 60 frames a second, that trail is flickering every other frame, and it's just a really, really horrible effect that if you have photosensitivity, you will possibly find is not at all what you want to be looking at. So I don't use it. I can't run the game myself at 30 frames a second as I'm playing, so I just drape a t-shirt over the health bar. So I can't actually see what the health of the characters fighting here is, so you may catch me being caught blind. I can't see the timer either, so, you know, it makes it interesting. Okay. Is it Lau doesn't have a low throw, I think. Not that I would know for sure how to do low throws in this game anyway. I guess it would probably be down or down forward plus all three buttons on a crouching opponent. Yeah, geez, just run into big old sweep kicks. Mid-sweep, I guess you have to call it. Juggle. Oh, she dodged my juggle and then she kicked me when I was down, and that's right, I keep forgetting. So down attacks are a big deal in this game. They're pretty easy to hit with, so you don't want to pass them up if you can help it. Dang it. Oh, that was too slow. I do like that night stage. It's quite a contrast from most of these simple, bright-colored stages, which are, of course, in the VF1 style, although you can see that the backgrounds are low resolution. If you actually find a video of, real Virtua Fighter 1, the backgrounds were pretty high resolution. Also, this ground we're fighting on, it's sort of this rocky texture, but it is a 2D texture map, whereas in the original didn't have textures, it just had colored polygons. So it's kind of too bad they didn't keep that style there with the actual polygons for the ground, but, whatever, they took a little shortcut. And I think these are not the exact same models that were used in VF1. Oh, I'm not 100% sure about that, but of course they do have the later characters who were added in games after VF1, and those are done in VF1 model style, but of course those aren't original models, definitely, because they didn't exist in VF1, so they had to remake them from scratch. And they actually made them first for Virtua Fighter 4 as their unlockables once you reach a certain rank in Kumite mode, which is their precursor to quest mode. You have the option to switch your character model from the Virtua Fighter 4 model to a much lower lower detail Virtua Fighter 1 style character, which is kind of funny. It's actually pretty cool to see in the lighting Virtua Fighter 4 because you're this low poly character, but you're being lit by these, you know, more advanced area lights, and they're kind of playing on your flat shaded surfaces, and it's kind of cool. I should probably pay attention to what's going on because Pai Chan.
Ready? Go!
Pai Chan is not messing around. This game has a pretty steep difficulty curve as you go through arcade mode. The first 3 stages are usually pretty easy, no matter what difficulty setting you have it on, and then they start to get a little more real. But it doesn't get ridiculous like, you know,
Ready? Go!
Virtua Fighter 2, at least not the version of Virtua Fighter 2 I have on the PlayStation 3, which is just absurdly difficult after starting with about stage 3 or 4. Whoa! And doesn't have nearly the sort of maneuverability of these Virtua Fighter 4 Evolution animations, of course. Very stiff. This game is not stiff, it's nice and fluid. Who won? I can't tell. That's it, I won. Yay! I can just see the bottom of the round win markers. So I could see that was flashing the second win for me there.
Fight 1. Ready? Go!
So far, I have been kind of cruising and not really paying attention. So hard so far has not been that bad, and it shouldn't get too much worse, although I do tend to get... Oh, I forgot about that move. Get hit sometimes by Wolf, because he's just so much different. Ooh, there's a side throw. Sweet. So, you know, throws are pretty situational, so if you can catch somebody on the side like that, it does a different animation, and I just love seeing all these different animations. And they really came up with great throw animations for the most part. Oh, like that. That was cool. It was me getting hurt, but, you know, whatever. It's all just for funsies. Oh, that's not fair. Forgetting to do my... Oh, he got out of it. No. I don't know why I was just standing there.
Fight 3.
I was stunned that I'd missed my attack on the downed opponent. Now that was just a normal, that was a kick, down kick, I guess, which was sort of, every character tends to have slight, so that the default attack on a downed opponent is up plus punch. That does the big jumping attack to land on them. But everybody else also has a, boy, I'm not seeing the health bars, making me not play defensively at all. Every character, in addition to that leaping attack on a prone character, also has just a sort of downward hand-to-hand attack, which differs, and it's usually like down forward punch or down forward kick. I guess for Lau, it's down forward kick. Some characters have a bunch of down attacks, some characters have throws that they can perform on down opponents. I'm sure Wolf does. Most of the grappler type characters do. I don't think... I'm also pretty sure Lau does not. That's gonna hurt. As I said, Wolf can cause me trouble because he's just so not ordinary. That was supposed to be a throw instead of just backpedaling. That's gonna make my health pretty low right now. It's totally screwed up my down attack. Didn't get a down attack. I got the knee. Man, Wolf. You're so mean. I was going to say I thought Canadians were supposed to be polite. I mean, can't say he's being rude about this. It's just hurting a lot. I just now noticed this, but Lau does not have a missed throw animation, which always freaks me out. He's just doing his, like, block animation or something. Or his... Yeah, that's... I hate that. Give me a whiff throw animation, please, so I can tell it's sort of working. Get him. Yeah! Get him again. Oh! Oh boy. Oh, that's gonna look painful. Oh my gosh! He just tripped out. Back rolled, then back stepped, and then he was halfway off the... That is hilarious. I wonder... Do they program the AIs to have a susceptibility to falling? I don't think so. That was just purely accidental on him. It was just carelessness. They have a carelessness setting, and Wolf is kind of a... loses track of where he's at. Is that part of his personality? Like, you wouldn't see Lau here as somebody who would step off the edge casually. So now we can see the two Lau outfits head to head. The black and red default one is pretty sharp there, I gotta say. Purple and brown would not be two colors I would pick to go together, although I guess... how does the color wheel work? I mean, brown is kind of like orange, which is a complement to... something... I think they're both complementary colors of some of the standard red, blue, green. I was trying to throw him for some stupid reason. That'd be a lesson to me. He just punched me in the mug. Oh! So that goes right through guard. Well, I'm learning from my computer counterpart here. He's putting on a pretty good clinic. Where's... Oh, that's... I was trying to do that same, sort of charge back, thrust forward with both palms attack he hit me with, but I got it wrong. That chuckle coming out of that crazy low poly face. Well, I got it wrong again. Should have done a down attack. Do it! No, that was not it! That was just a jump. That was not it either. Well, that worked, I mean... Like, the early game's health is pretty low. Although health was... I was really surprised playing Virtua Fighter 4 the other day with Lau that rounds just go super fast compared to... Ooh, it's getting a little tight in there. Compared to Virtua Fighter 5. I think I remember reading somewhere that they reduced in general the character's health, or they increased the character's health from 400 in Virtua Fighter 4 era to 200 per character health in 4 to 240 in 5, but I could be making that up. That would be a 20% increase, which is pretty beefy for increasing a character's health. Okay, finally. And definitely would explain why the rounds going from 5 back to 4 felt so much shorter, and like, I was used to having more time to goof off, so I would just be goofing off and then I'd be dead already, and I'd be like, wait, I was still in my goof off period. I'm already dead. So Akira is, of course, the boss character, really, in these games. You'll notice in the lower right there it says Final Stage. So Akira is the poster boy, but he's also the boss, technically, which is interesting to me, for some reason.
Ready? Go!
Like in Virtua Fighter 2, who's the last fight as well, he's just absolute murder. He's not generally so bad in this. He doesn't really play like a boss. Just plays like a fairly tough. But he bossed me there.
Fight 3. Ready?
And come to think of it, I mean, Akira feels to me like he's kind of been nerfed in the series as time went on. Like in 2 he's ridiculous. I don't know about 3 because I don't own 3 anymore. And I never played it when I had the Dreamcast version. I played it like for 10 minutes and didn't like it. But in 4 he's pretty tough. And I always had trouble with him in 4. Just as an extra, kind of, just an extra tough character. But in 5, he doesn't feel that tough as controlled by the AI. I feel more like I'm more able to defend against his nonsense like that. Or he just doesn't do it as much or something. But I have noticed, or actually I was looking at, I think it was the composition of the most recent Beat Tribe tournament, which is a big Virtua Fighter tournament in Japan, and the one I think it was the 20, I can't remember now if it was the 2020 or 2019 one, but Akira is the most used characters, and they're playing Virtua Fighter 5 Final Showdown, which is the latest arcade release. So he's obviously not been nerfed into the ground. He's still considered a very strong character, but he's no longer the just really horrible monster character he was. So Doral here is often called the boss by players and reviewers and so forth, but technically she is not the boss. She is a bonus stage, as you'll see in the lower right there. And she's always been, the last stage with her has always been called a bonus stage. And I should try not to let her kill me because since this is a bonus stage, you can't continue. So if she kills me, it's for keeps, and there's no rematch. Uh-oh. Oh, that was dumb. That was dumb. Well, she got me. Not that it matters, it's just a nice little boost to brag about. You got Doral. I did not get Doral. You get the same ending either way. It's this timeline of Virtua Fighter game releases, which is kind of cool. The graphics taking place in the background are I believe, the Virtua Fighter 4 Evolution end cinematic that you would see if you beat arcade mode in Virtua Fighter 4 Evolution, which I am not playing currently because there's a flashing effect when a character gets hit. It's kind of like a little colored flash bulb goes off. And it's not great for photosensitivity, so I'm not playing that. In 4, they started that effect in Virtua Fighter 4, the one before 4 Evolution, but in 4 they made it so you could turn that effect off. In Evolution you can't, and it's pretty bright. The flash effect is still there in 5 and 5 Final Showdown, but it's toned down from how bright it is in 4 Evolution. It's especially toned down effectively in 5, and that might just be because the camera is pulled farther back than it is in Final Showdown. I'm not sure about that, but anyway, it's a bright flashing effect in 4 Evolution, so you can't turn off, so that's why I'm not playing 4 Evolution. Which is a shame, because 4 Evolution's a pretty cool game. But I still have 4 to play, so it's kind of fun. I like 4. I have a fondness for 4. It was the first Virtua Fighter I got into was Virtua Fighter 4 on PS2. So that wasn't bad. I was not really paying attention. I still got through without really having to pump quarters into it. Virtua quarters. Let's do the other route. This time we'll do his other costume. Blood type B. Fortunately, no attacks in Virtua Fighter actually draw blood, so shouldn't have to worry about needing a blood transfusion. No, how do you do that? How do you do that charge back thing? Is it all three? It couldn't be all three buttons. No. Whoop. Was that? See, well, this is exactly why I should go through this move training. But I'm not gonna until I hit a brick wall and probably in Kumite mode in VF4. Once I am not able to get any farther in that mode, I'll have to go through his command training. And likewise in quest mode in Virtua Fighter 5.
Ready? Go!
I'll probably hit that wall sooner in VF4 since Kumite is just a lot more brutal than quest mode. Hi, Lion. So it was... Lion was, Travis Wright Lion was a new character to Virtua Fighter 2. So it's interesting, they only have you fight Akira as the Virtua Fighter 1 representative, and you fight Lion, who is added in Virtua Fighter 2. And the next one should be Shun, who is the other character. That was a mouthful. Added in Virtua Fighter 2.
Fight one.
Yeah.
Ready? Go!
And it makes sense if you think about it. Like, I didn't really know until I looked it up that they were added in VF2, but both Lion and Shun are kind of more complex characters mechanically. You know, Lion with his praying mantis moves, and Shun with his drunken style and being able to take swings from the bottle and get access to more moves. The drunker, the more inebriated he is. Whoa! Oh boy, now he's drinking, busting out the crazy stuff. Nope, not that drunk. Oh boy, I got a little carried away.
Fight three. Ready? Go!
I'm only a VF1 character. I do not have these sophisticated moves that Shun got it in VF2, or newly created in VF2. I saw that coming a mile away, drunk old man. Whoop. Oh, that was too slow. Oh dear. Oh. Throw animation. This is making me freak out. Okay, so next we go to characters added in Virtua Fighter 4. Vanilla Virtua Fighter 4. Which would include...
Fight one.
Oh, I'm sorry, 3. Duh. I can count. So, Aoi or Aoi something. I always forget that one, but her name means blue, is it? At least one of the meanings is blue, I think. She was added in 3. She's got a fairly subtle style. I still don't really understand. It's quick strikes, but also throws and sort of counter-like moves. I don't know if she's tricky. Trick that. Whoa! Whoa! Nope, she's tricking me. Yep, that quick hand speed. I was trying to do my palm to the chin uppercut, but that's too slow a move to get in on her when she's in her slapping mood. So, careful with that. Maybe just don't let her get in. Kick her before she... Oh, no, she got in. I'm trying to get it too slow. Too slow. Aw, you were trying to counter something, weren't you? Too bad for you, I have slow response time. Your counter came too soon. And so forth. And the other character added in 3 was, well, Taka Arashi. So he is not in, that's the sumo wrestler, and he famously was not included in 4 Evolution because they said his massive sumo wrestler bulk would have been too hard to animate, even though they did it in 3, so go figure. But he doesn't come back until 5 Final Showdown. So now we're on Lei Fei, who was added in 4. Lei Fei is tricky. Oh man! Somehow I thought that was not going to work out that way. He's got all these different stances, and I always fall for his stances, and like some of the stances it's super hard to throw him in because he's sort of leaning back. He's not playing very hard here though, I have to say. He's kind of playing like a chump right now. And we're on stage 5 of hard mode. You would think they'd be playing a little more for keeps. So that was a little bit of a letdown. Wi-Fi usually puts up a better fight. And then the other character added in 4, Vanilla, is Vanessa. They did not keep her original costume here, though, for her VF1 incarnation, because they, at least in the States, I'm not sure if it was in Japan, but they changed her default costume from a sort of sports bra look that was originally in 4. They decided that was too racy for the States anyway. Oh boy. And, wow, she got a perfect on me. And they gave her this very non-revealing camouflage outfit, which is very much like her other costume, so that was not really that interesting a choice. Fortunately, I still have Virtua Fighter 4. And the other thing they started doing was bleaching her skin out, so she starts being lighter and lighter skin, which is just bizarre. She's very dark-skinned here, though, which is cool. And in, of course, Virtua Fighter 4 Vanilla, she was never that dark-skinned to begin with, but she's still her original color anyway, so that's alright.
Ready? Go!
Now we're up to Virtua Fighter 5 new characters. Brad Burns, the kickboxer. So speaking of Vanessa, Vanessa has 2 independent move sets. She had a speedy set, which was kickboxer moves. I keep forgetting the actual name of the discipline that most kickboxers follow here, and Brad is exercising on me very effectively. But she basically had Brad's martial art, and then 5 came along, and I don't know, it's weird. They were just like, well, I don't know what they were like, but they were like, well, let's take one of the 2 martial arts we gave to Vanessa and give one of them to this new character we're making. Was that just because it was easy and they'd already figured that one out? So then, to replace it, they gave Vanessa just this sort of much less, just kind of much less, what's the word I'm trying to, it has less personality to it. It feels like a sort of generic self-defense punching thing. I don't know. It's very boring, and so it's kind of too bad they had to take away one of Vanessa's 2 disciplines. So kind of really, Vanessa really took some hits after the original Virtua Fighter 4. Which is too bad, because she was the first character I really tried to sit down and play in 4. I thought she was so cool. And she's still cool, but really not her glory days anymore. Whoa! I don't know if I've ever done that throw before. I don't know what that was. How did I do that? I was just trying to do a regular throw. Maybe that's his back forward. Oh, this was a bad idea. Okay, whew. Most characters have a back forward throw. You know, you hold, you press back, then forward, then throw, or is it forward and back and throw? I always forget. But anyway, most characters have another throw move like that, and I find it hard to do, but that was probably what I accidentally did there. God, this no throw whiff animation thing is... Because I actually whiffed a throw attempt there, but then Brad was still in throw range, and I just did another attempt and it got it. Or you moved into throw range? I don't know, whatever. Okay, I should pay attention here. That is a little too obvious, Brad. Oh, okay, now he's throwing me. Oh, don't turn around or anything. I've been leaving out down attacks. Oh no! That was getting sloppy. Thanks for the dose of reality, Brad. Twirling my mustache.
Fight 1. Ready? Go!
That's got pretty good striking speed too. Ooh. Oh. Brad was a little slow getting up. I hesitated before I jumped and still got him.
2. Ready? Go!
Dang it. Dang it. No, that was not. Wow. Oh, he hit me with that elbow.
Fight 3. Ready? Go!
Shoot, what's he trying to do there? Oh boy. I am not putting together a smart strategy here. I'm just kind of mashing. Maybe I should not do that. I mean, you can get away with it with Lau for a while because he's got such... He can just mash out these big strings of punches like that. But when they start blocking, or I'm punching you... Jeez, now he's got me. Turn around, dang it! Ah, that is one annoying thing about the mechanics in this VF1 style thing. Wow, he is really putting me down fast. I'm just not prepared for it.
Fight 2. Ready? Go!
It's not the jump kick I wanted, but that was the one I wanted. Ah, it's too slow though. There's that blood-curdling yell with the throw. I guess I got rid of that for a while. Let's get some blood-curdling yells. That's what we need to do to Brad. Shiver his timbers a little.
Fight 3. Ready?
I'm not gonna cook for you, Brad. As long as you keep this up, you're just being a jerk. Okay, this is not good. No. Shoot. Turn around. Oh. Well, that's right. So, this is VF1 rules, so you can't sidestep. Duh. Jeez. I was trying to get away from the edge there, but no sidestepping, which is initially why I got so excited about this game, because I did not like sidestepping. So I thought, oh, perfect, they made a later version of their game with characters and moves that took out sidestepping. Super sweet. was holding block. I just... Ugh. So, because you can't side... Oh, wow. Well, see, I didn't realize how close to death I was. Because you can't sidestep, it becomes very... You really have to watch how close you get to the edge. Gosh. Kind of running a little short of ideas against Brad. Jeez. This is where my lack of deep knowledge of his moves is hurting me. Of Lau's moves, I mean. Oh, stupid. Why did I do a low kick at him when he was obviously crouching and blocking? Okay. Okay. This is it. I can feel it. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Ah, how do you like that? Dang it. Definitely not being fast enough with the throws. I've gotten too used to Virtua Fighter 5 where they slowed down throws. But in 4 and 4 Evolution, throws come out about 50% faster, I think. It's from 8 frames instead of 12 frames in 5. So it's a lot easier to throw people. And I have to remember that. Be a lot more aggressive with throws. Whoop. It's funny how he lands on the black space outside the ring is not empty. There's a ground there. I was never quite sure about Go, but he was one of the first characters that I started playing since I've come back to the Virtua Fighter games, and he's actually a lot of fun to play. Just he's got these kind of nutty, unusual moves. And I guess he's a judo practitioner, if I have that right. But he kind of has a dark edge to his moves, so he does some fun stuff.
Ready? Go!
Well, that's a bonus round already. See if I can do a little better against the Metal Maiden. She's definitely pretty weird looking. She looks like an old-fashioned artist mannequin. Whoop.
Time's up.
Sheesh.
Fight 2. Ready?
Uh-oh. She likes using, I think I already mentioned it, she likes using Akira's moves. Which makes sense, his moves are pretty terrifying and effective. And lightning fast. Oh, I forgot. Ooh, thanks. Well, I've forgotten 2 important moves. Oh, well, that one didn't work.
Time's up.
Shoot.
Fight 3. Ready?
Time is really going fast because I have to spend all this time defending against her flurries of kicks and punches. Oh no.
KO.
Jeez. Well, I took a round off her. She's really not that tough. She's not that much harder than any of the other characters, so I'm just not really on the ball. So I didn't win bonus rounds tonight, but Whatevs. Never had a Sega Saturn. There are a couple Saturn games I would kind of be interested in, but not enough to buy a Saturn and try to find an arcade stick, and then the games themselves can be pretty pricey these days. I would like to have some port of Virtua Fighter 1. I mean, this is the closest thing I have. But there is no, you know, arcade-accurate port of Virtua Fighter 1, really. The Sega, the Saturn one, you know, it had to do a lot of stuff just to get it on the console, and then it was also on, what the heck was it? Couldn't have been like Super Nintendo? No? Well, anyway. So I don't know why they haven't done a real VF1 port to some modern console. That would be cool. And actually, I'd love to see, because they did too on PS3. There's a really good port of Virtua Fighter 2. But Virtua Fighter 3 on Dreamcast was not a great port, as far as I understand it. I certainly was not impressed by it at the time. I'd love to see a VF3 real arcade port. Heck, I'd love to see a real arcade port of the full arcade version of Virtua Fighter 5 Final Showdown, because that game has all these, appears to have quite a few interesting single-player modes, at least from what I see of YouTube videos of the Japanese arcade version. But I can't find information on them anywhere. But anyway, that was Lau on hard difficulty in Virtua Fighter 10th Anniversary. Basically plays move-wise a lot like Virtua Fighter 4 Evolution, and but it looks smooth, I hope, to you, even though this is only 30 frames a second, to avoid that flickering effect on the health meter that I don't want to inflict on anybody. And it does feel very smooth to play, and graphically it looks really smooth and low poly at the same time, so I don't know, I kind of enjoy this little game. But that's it for now. Next, for Lau, we'll be taking Lau into quest mode in Virtua Fighter 5, where he'll have white hair, which I don't like, at least until I can afford to buy him some different color hair in the item shop in that game. So that is our quest that we'll have for Lau. The quest to not have white hair, because it just makes him look like he should have been retired, which is not cool. Lau is a robust young man in the prime of his life. And then, well, I think it started in 5. They give him this idle animation or intro animation or something where he like hacks and coughs into his palm. It's so gross. I don't really like how they treated Lau in 5. But here he is, still the virile, black-haired, fighting dynamo that we know and love. So that's nice. And then, of course, in 5 Final Showdown, right off the bat, you can, if you buy all the DLC costume packs, or item packs, or whatever, you can dress him up however you want. So I have some very buff costumes for him, where he's just ripped out and has fancy punked out hairdos and just kicks ass, so that's fun. But in this game, he just has his old style costumes, which, you know, that second purple and brownish one, it wasn't terrible. It wasn't too bad. But I'm just babbling now. So, thank you for watching this. Catch you later.